All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on something we all do, but, we rarely ever really think about shopping. We are going to break down the hidden psychology behind every single purchase you make, from that coffee you grabbed this morning to your next big tech splurge.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That phone you're holding, the sneakers you're wearing. Why those specific ones? Was it just an impulse buy? Are you just super loyal to that brand? Or was there a much deeper process going on in your head? Well, let's find out. So to get started, the most important thing to get is that not all buying decisions are the same, not even close. Your brain actually shifts gears completely depending on whether you're buying, say, toothpaste or a new car. On one hand, you've got what's called routine response. And honestly, you can just think of this as your brain on autopilot. Grabbing the exact same brand of toothpaste you always do. It's low stakes, you barely even think about it. But then on the flip side, you have extensive decision making. Yeah, this is for the big stuff. The moments where you basically become a part-time researcher for weeks on end, just diving into reviews and comparing every little feature. And for those bigger, more complex decisions, it turns out that pretty much all of us follow a surprisingly consistent path. So let's walk through that 5-step journey together, shall we?
Here it is. This is the roadmap from, I need something, all the way to, okay, I bought the thing. And to make this super clear, we're going to use a classic example. That moment you finally decide you need a new smartphone.
Okay, so step 1, problem recognition. This is the trigger. It's that light bulb moment. You realize there's a huge gap between your current situation, a phone that can't even hold a charge, and where you want to be, having a phone that, actually works. And that gap, that's what creates the need. So once you know you have a problem, what do? You start looking for a solution. And this is the information search phase. You might do what's called an internal search, just scanning your own memory for brands you already know. Or, more likely, an external search, Googling best new phones of the year and hitting up that one techie friend for their advice. And all of that searching leads to a really key psychological concept called the evoked set. Now think about it. You're not going to research every single phone on the market, right? Of course not. Your brain automatically filters the dozens and dozens of options down to a small, manageable group of serious contenders. So, out of all the smartphone brands in the entire world, your mind probably narrows it down to just a handful you'd actually consider buying. And for marketers, this right here is the critical battleground. Their whole advertising strategy is often built for one single purpose, just to make sure their brand gets into your evoked set. Next up, you hit the evaluation phase. You take that short list, your evoked set of, say, Apple, Samsung, and Google, and you start judging them based on what you care about. For you, maybe the camera quality is everything, but for someone else, it might be all about that price tag. And then, boom, the moment of truth, the purchase decision. You've weighed the options, you've made your choice, but get this. Even at this stage, things can still change. A really strong opinion from a friend or, a surprise flash sale on another model could totally sway you at the very last second. But the journey isn't over just because you clicked buy. Nope. The final stage is post-purchase evaluation. This is where you reflect and decide if you actually made the right call. Are you totally satisfied, or are you feeling a little uneasy about it? Well, that uneasy feeling has a name. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's that classic buyer's remorse, a kind of mental discomfort you feel after making a really big commitment. And hey, this feeling is completely normal. When you start wondering, did I spend too much? Or, man, was that other phone actually a better deal? That's just your brain trying to square the choice you made with all the other great options you had to turn down. So, okay, we've covered the how of buying. We've got the 5 steps down. But what about the why? What are all those invisible forces that are constantly pushing us toward one product over another? Well, your decision as a buyer is sitting right at the center of this incredibly complex web of influences. It's kind of like one of those nested Russian dolls, right? You've got broad cultural norms on the very outside layer, and it goes all the way down to your own personal psychology on the very inside. Let's just zoom in on one of those layers for a second, social factors. I mean, think about it. The culture you grew up in might value being practical over being flashy. Your family might have always bought a certain brand of car, creating this built-in sense of trust for you. And your friends, they might be creating this subtle pressure to own the latest and greatest tech. All of these things are powerfully and often subconsciously shaping what you buy. So by now, you're probably thinking, okay, this is pretty fascinating, but why does it all matter? Well, it matters a whole lot to the companies that are trying to sell you stuff. It really all comes down to one core business goal: creating customer loyalty. As our source material puts it, it's about developing a customer base that provides regular income and turnover. In other words, they want to understand you so that you'll keep coming back for more. So their goal is basically to make your buying journey as smooth and painless as possible. If they can give you the right information at just the right time, they can lower your anxiety, help you skip that nasty cognitive dissonance, and hopefully turn you into a happy long-term customer. So, how can you use all of this? Well, by understanding this whole framework, you can actually become a much smarter, more conscious consumer. So let's end with this, a little thought experiment. I want you to think about the last big thing you bought: a car, a laptop, a vacation, whatever. Can you trace your own 5-step journey? What social or psychological factors were pulling the strings? Because really, understanding why you buy is the absolute first step to making better, smarter decisions every single time.